Okay, now we have moved on to part D, where we're going to solve for A. Part D, kind of unique that it's called that because we're going to have to distribute backwards. There's a few things you have to watch when we're doing this. Again, my goal is to isolate the variable A. So I want to get anything that has the variable A to the left-hand side of the equal sign. I need to move AR. So I'm going to subtract AR, subtract AR. These are not like terms. This is A times T. This is negative A times R. So I'll copy down the B. There we go. Now B has no A attached to it, so I'm going to move it to this side of the equal sign by the opposite. Positive B, the inverse is negative. Copy down very carefully, watching what I'm doing with negative signs. Alphabetical order will come in very handy as we progress through the year, so get in the habit. Okay, what I notice now is I have two terms. When I say terms, remember I'm talking about where I used to draw caterpillars. Each bubble is really a term. In each bubble or each term, there is the variable A. I am going to distribute that backwards. A times what would get me back to AT times T. A times what would get me back to negative AR, negative R. If I distributed that, I would get back to where I started. I'm going to copy down the right-hand side of the equal sign. Now, as we talked about a while ago when we were dividing by A plus B in the denominator, these items in the parentheses are grouped together. They need to stay together. A written outside the parentheses means multiplication. So to undo that, I'm going to divide by the whole group. I'm going to take A times that term. To undo it, I will divide. Then I will come to this side and divide by the whole group. So I will be left with A equals the opposite of B minus C, all divided by T minus R. None of the variables are the same. We cannot simplify. We wouldn't be able to anyways because of subtraction signs, but that is for a much later date. Wowzers, that was a big problem. Our next problem is very similar. We are going to solve for G. The first thing I want you to do, we're going to try this one a little bit by yourself. Please move the GH here to that side of the equal sign. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. If I go too fast, please pause. To make negative GH go away on that side, so to say, we would have to add there. This is G's, not GH's. They are not like terms, so I cannot combine them. So I have 2G plus GH, carry down the minus M, equals 5. Okay, now I need to move negative M from the left to the right because it doesn't have the G, the variable I'm trying to isolate. I will add M to both sides. I would be left with 2G plus GH equals M plus 5. Out of habit, I like to put variables and then constants. That will make our life easier as we move on throughout the year. Okay, I'm looking at the terms. Remember, terms are the things I would put in the caterpillar bubbles, Here is a G, there's a G. They each have G's, so I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to distribute backwards. I'll ask myself, G times what would get me back to 2G? 2. G times what will get me back to GH plus H? If I distribute, I would get back to where I started. Copy down M plus 5. Again, we created a group. Items inside the parentheses. Remember, we talked about grouping symbols. They are grouped together. You cannot separate them. G written next to parentheses means multiplication. Therefore, we need to divide. So I'm going to divide by the whole group. That group can cancel each other out, so I'm left with G equals M plus 5. Let me move up the paper. Divided by 2 plus H. Wow. We're going to end part D after we distributed.